Everyone, you are watching In the Can. This is the second day of our film festival coverage. It is Friday, January 21st. I'm Christine Napier here with the one and only Kimberly Perot. We're so excited to have her here with us today. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Excited for this weekend.
Yeah, looking forward to the weekend as well and to some more great interviews with filmmakers right here on our show live this morning. So we have much to get to. In fact, let's take a look outside. And it did snow a little bit yesterday, not too much, but overnight we did get a little bit of a dusting of snow. So we will mention the weather later on in our show. But in the meantime, it's a beautiful morning. Just give yourself a little bit of extra time in case you encounter some icy roads. It's a bit spotty out there. Not too bad though. Now on today's show, we're going to start with something local. We're going to head down to the ice sculptures at Hoover Valley Artisan Cheese. This is a great event to go to. Also, you can head over to the ice castles right around the corner in Midway. So looking forward to talking to them about that fun local event. And then we're going to turn our attention back to the film festival. I'm going to be speaking with a panelist, the Indie Entertainment Showcase. Looking forward to that. And then Kimberly will be checking in with I'll be checking in with Second Chance, another really interesting film that I had the opportunity to see. This is about the individual who invented the bulletproof vest. It's a documentary. And then followed by ASCAP Music Cafe, where Kimberly will be speaking with an artist who will be performing at that cafe.
I'm very excited. I love the music piece of the festival.
It's a great opportunity to meet new musicians, to be able to see these performances virtually, followed by another documentary, TikTok Boom. This comes from the same director as Coded Bias, which premiered at the festival back in 2020. I'll be speaking with her about that. And then Kimberly has Resurrection, another great film.
I am so excited to chat with the cast and the writer-director.
And then we've got even more coming your way with The Princess and Happening. So that is everything happening on our show today. Very grateful that we have people all around the world that will be talking with us about their films premiering here at the festival. Another beautiful shot from our roof cam, a very nice morning here. So we're gonna take a quick break and get to all of that. So don't go anywhere. Kimberly and I will be right back. Welcome back. Right now we're going to check on the weather. So you are prepared. Very excited to have just a little bit of snow overnight. Looked like there was definitely more from Kimball Junction, Jeremy Ranch area than I saw right here in town. But it's nice to have a little bit of powder out there for those of you that will be getting out and enjoying our conditions today. Currently it's 21 degrees, a little bit of snow lingering throughout the day, but not much is really expected to continue. 29 degrees is our high today, and then this storm will be clearing out for a very nice weekend. Let's take a look at the 5-day forecast and see what you can expect from that.
We will have a beautiful bluebird day on Saturday. 31 degrees is the high, a low of 7. Sunday you'll have close to the same weather at 33 degrees for the high and 6 degrees for the low at night. Monday we'll be moving into a little bit of clouds, but not too much, a high of 32, a low of 10. And then Tuesday back to that sunshine day at 28 is the high, 8 degrees is the low. Wednesday we've got a little bit more clouds in the forecast for high of 30 degrees and a low of 4.
That's what you can expect coming up. Definitely dry conditions coming back after we had this little kind of a tease of a storm, to be honest. But look at that nice morning. The clouds are clearing away. They look like they're getting ready for you to join them if you're heading up to the slopes. It's really fun to see the lights out there on that run right there over at Park City Mountain. So we are going to take a break and get back with, hopefully with Hoover Valley Artisan Cheese to talk about their ice sculptures this weekend. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Right now we are going to be introduced to a new artist with Park City Fine Art. These are always some of my favorite segments. I love to see the talent of the individuals that display their art here in galleries, especially with Park City Fine Art. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Nicole Gayton. I am an artist out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I am a very colorful wildlife artist. Here I am today, about 20 years later, doing this full time. As a kid, I've always been really a big animal lover. That's part of the reason I paint wildlife. Growing up in Jackson Hole, my parents made it a huge part of our lives, getting out into the wilderness, hiking, having animals. We had 2 dogs growing up, a cat. I was obsessed with horses, and somehow I convinced my parents to buy me a horse and then a second horse. And we didn't have the space for horses, but that was one of my first animals that I drew incessantly. And then art and horses were my life, and it's one of my favorite things to draw. My love of animals just grew, and I am a big contributor to a lot of wildlife funds in Grand Teton National Park, giving them a lot of the funds that come from my paintings. So I get asked over and over again how I came up with this technique, and many people don't know that I use a squirt bottle similar to like a diner style ketchup bottle. I mix up black paint and water, and then I lay my canvas on the ground and I go wild. You can see that it sprays out, all these little black marks come out, and I came up with that after being young. I was detail oriented, I would sketch out my drawing, and I would never finish a project in my high school art classes until one day my teacher was like, you need to just like let loose, let it go. And we came up with this idea when we were working on painting projects to use a squirt bottle, and that would help me complete my projects. So we tried it out, and it was just like a magical experience how I could get a drawing done within like, I don't know, 10 minutes. And that's how things kind of evolved into this really wild style for me. Ever since, you know, it's evolved and become this whole magical process. I think in the area that we live in, wildlife seems to be a very popular subject matter. I also really enjoy painting their personalities and their eyes, and it's been a really fun avenue to go down. I have decided to kind of experiment with some new color, some new subject matter. I typically only do one animal per piece, and I've really kind of like challenged myself to put in more animals into one piece. So you'll see when we pan out here that I've done, you know, 3 foxes in one piece, I've done 2 bison in a piece, and then I have a really spectacular piece that is 6 feet long with, I don't even know how many bears, but there are probably 15 bears in there. I would love you all to see that. So I ended up in Park City meeting Colby, the owner of Pando Fine Art, by contacting him probably 5 to 10 times over and over again, begging him to take my work. I know that hundreds of artists get in touch with him. And I think it was either, I can't remember the 5th or the 10th time that he finally responded, like it was the first time, oh, I've been watching your art and I really want you here. And he took a chance on me. I think I was in one gallery at the time in Jackson, and I came here on a Memorial Day weekend, and I think 5 of the 6 pieces I brought down sold in the 3 days I was here. And so it was like a match made in heaven, and I have been here ever since, and I believe that was 5 years ago now. So it's like our 5th year anniversary, and it's been really great ever since. Just being here in this gallery, the people that work here are so wonderful and incredible that, I mean, coming down, just making the trip is worth it. Come on down to Pando Fine Art to see my new work. It is right across from No Name Saloon and right next to the post office.
And right now we are going to turn our attention to Hebert Valley Artisan Cheese. They have an exciting ice sculptures event going on this weekend. It's one you don't want to miss out on, and Grant Kohler is joining us from Hebert Valley Artisan Cheese as we speak. Grant, how are you doing today? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
Excited to talk about this fun event, so tell me more.
Well, this is our 3rd annual ice sculpture event. This year we have 24 ice sculptures sponsored by different companies. So the goal is to be able to do several ice sculptures that people can come and just walk through the fields and enjoy and see the difference, or see the different sculptures. Fun part is they'll actually be doing some demos. The artist is coming in and we'll do demos tonight at 4 o'clock will be the first one, and I think that's going to be Mickey and Minnie. And then tomorrow They were talking about doing Olaf, or not Olaf. Anyway, they're going to do an eagle now. They've changed that to an eagle. Last year he did an eagle, and it was just amazing to watch the detail.
So will some of these already be completed and then others you can watch being made, or will they all be made throughout this weekend?
No, they're all completed except the 2 demos. The 2 that they'll sculpture up or do the sculpt up here.
So how is it looking out there? Have you had a chance to see them?
No, I haven't even seen them. They'll be delivering them about right around 8 o'clock this morning. We've been setting up all the pads for them, and then we got to put canopies over every one of them because the biggest thing is you don't want sun to get on them.
Well, hopefully it is a good weekend. I know it's going to get a little sunny, a little warm, but this is a fun annual event. Why do you bring it back each year?
It's been just a fun event that it's kind of our give back to the community. It's sponsored by all the businesses. There's no charge to come, just come and enjoy. And people are looking for something to be out the first of the year, get out and start doing stuff. And it's actually pretty neat because last night we got a couple of inches of snow. So it'll really add to the ambiance of it and just be a fun event for people to come and enjoy. And then while they're here, if they want to come into the creamery, they can get their grilled cheese sandwich, their hot soups, ice cream, cheese, all kinds of goodies. So it's set up that people can come and just get away and enjoy.
So a really great time to not only see the ice sculptures, but also be able to enjoy the showcase of other businesses there and get some grilled cheese, always delicious. Do people need tickets? Do they need to sign up for a time?
Nope. They're just welcome to come. We'll park in the field just below the ice sculptures and around the creamery. They're welcome to just come anytime and walk through it and enjoy it.
And today, remind me one more time of the times with the demo today and then the event tomorrow.
The demo today will be at 4 o'clock. The demo tomorrow will be at noon. And the event starts, usually our creamery's open at 10 o'clock, but we'll probably be opening a little bit early. If people want to come a little bit early, they probably wouldn't have a problem doing that. And then we'll stay open until people leave. Usually, last year we ended up staying open till about 8 o'clock. And then it gets dark enough that most people aren't out there. We're gonna play a little bit with it this year and put some lights on some and see how that goes. And maybe it'll end up being something that goes into the evening because I think it'd look neat with the ice sculptures lit up.
Well, it's always a great event. Love going down to Heber Valley Artisan Cheese. It's a beautiful location. You can also see their cows, their products, and enjoy some great ice sculptures only happening this weekend, so today and tomorrow. We're going to take a quick break and get back with film festival coverage after this. Welcome back. Right now we are going to focus on the Indie Entertainment Showcase. We interviewed Bobby Dyer yesterday, who was a panelist part of that. And now we have Anna Fishbein here to tell us all about her role within this entertainment showcase at the festival this year. Anna, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Good. How are you? Great to join you.
Doing well, and I'm excited to learn more about you and your role within this showcase and also other projects that you're working on and have been working on. So tell us more about yourself and why you think they invited you to be a part of this panel.
So I'm really excited to be part of this panel. I have a movie called Galaxy 360, A Woman's Playground, and it takes place in the future. It's a comedy that is set in 2195, where women ruled the world, men dream of getting married, and it takes place over a male beauty pageant. And so it's going to be really fun, and I've been invited to speak at the panel, which is taking place tomorrow on January 22nd at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time, and 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So you can watch it live at cloud21.com.
How are you preparing for the panel? What do you plan to talk about, or is it more of an organic conversation?
So I plan to discuss the film, the making of the film, what inspired me to make this movie, and hopefully how it will impact people and their views of gender, and And this movie is about gender reversal and about living in an opposite world where, you know, women are in power and men are worried about their looks and they're worried about their bodies and they come out in their bathing suits. And so we always have a lively discussion on these panels. I've been at the panel before, and it's an amazing time this year. We have incredible filmmakers that are going to be part of it.
And Anna, without going into deep specifics, tell me a little more about why you have decided to focus your work on gender roles, because many of your previous projects have been about this as well.
Yes, that's true. Yes, because I feel that it's an important, well, first of all, I believe in comedy, and I believe in comedy in its ability to heal and to bring people together. And I think it's really important to speak to all the issues that are connecting you know, women and men, and how we can bring women and men into a better understanding of each other. And I think the greatest way to do it is through art and through comedy. And I did it before with my web series called Happy Hour Feminism. And this is just it was a web series, and it was like my first dip into this world. And now with a feature film, it's going to be fun, and the film is very funny and colorful. And we had a private screening in LA already, and it just went really great, and I can't wait to share it with the world.
How does it feel to see your project on the big screen? And when you were younger, did you always want to be a part of the film industry? Was this a dream that you've been able to fulfill?
No, I was, so I have a kind of a long story in my life, which I probably won't have time to talk about, but I was an immigrant child. I was brought here from Russia as a child. And most of my young life, I imagined that I was going to be, you know, a physicist or a computer scientist or a statistician. And I ended up doing very intellectual things. I actually ended up getting a PhD in philosophy of literature. And so I ended up entering the film world after I had my 2 kids, and just decided to switch careers. And it's been amazing ever since. It's been the sort of thing that I knew I came home once I got up on stage.
No looking back, it sounds like. And what are some of your future projects? Can you discuss them with us?
Sure. I have a screenplay called How to Seduce Your Dinner Guest, which is the next feature film that I'll be working on. And it's a really funny comedy of errors that takes place over a Manhattan dinner where people mistake each other's identity. And I'm also working on 2 pilots. One is called Infidelity Club, and it's an interesting take. It's a drama. It's a TV series, which is a cheating club for women, and it's supposed to be also dealing a little bit with gender reversal. I'm very interested in looking at it from every single perspective, and this one is specifically about married women. And my other project is a comedy called Healthy Nuts, and it tackles the sort of the craze we all have with looking young and looking and being healthy and nutritious, and it just makes fun of that whole attempt and that world.
And Anna, circling back to the Indie Entertainment Showcase that is coming up, who do you think this is specifically for? Who do you think will get the most out of this?
I think everybody. I mean, I actually think that the Entertainment Showcase is for filmmakers, for actors, for people who want to be in this business, people who want to either produce films or be in films or be a part of the film industry. But I actually think it's so great because it's great for everyone, honestly, because we tackle every issue that comes up for us, you know, whether it has to, you know, like my topic usually involves, like I mentioned before, gender roles, and lots of people have different takes on it. And we speak about things that impact society and that matter to each one of us. So the people in the Indie Entertainment Showcase discuss real world issues and how they're connected to filmmaking and how art is part of the, you know, our everyday lives. So in a way, we try to focus on being relevant. We also talk about the pandemic and how it's impacted the film industry and all of our projects. and that has been affecting pretty much everybody.
And Anna, remind me one more time how we can join the Indie Entertainment Showcase, and also how can we follow along with you and learn more about everything you're involved in?
Okay, wonderful. So you can watch us live tomorrow on January 22nd, and you can go to www.cloud21.com, and you can find me. I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as Anna Fishbein Official, and also as Galaxy 360 Movie. You can follow me also on my websites, which are www.galaxy360movie.com and AnnaFishbeinOfficial.com. So I hope to see a lot of you tomorrow at the panel, and please follow us, and please follow each of the individual filmmakers that are going to be a part of this. It's going to be an exciting, exciting showcase.
It absolutely is. We look forward to it every year. That's the Indie Entertainment Showcase. Thank you so much, Anna, for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, having you on the show. And also, if you want more information about this, you can head to the festival website and the Cloud 21 website that Anna mentioned. We'll be back with more right here on In the Can after this. Welcome back. Right now we're focusing on a documentary at the film festival called A Second Chance. This is an intriguing story about the individual who invented the bulletproof vest. Quite an adventure within this documentary film, and I have two producers here to tell me all about it and all about their involvement. Daniel Turkin and Johnny Galvin are here with us today. Thank you, both of you, for being here. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well indeed.
Thank you for having us.
So my question for both of you, actually, to start this as executive producers of this film, how did you encounter this story and get involved with the film? Johnny, let's start with you.
Sure thing. First of all, good morning to everyone watching from the mountain. We wish we could be there, but unfortunately we can't. So we came across the story, actually, funnily enough, by an individual who's from Park City. He was a screenwriter and actor called Jacob Grodnick, a local boy, and he was researching the invention of armor and came across this individual. He only had one line on Wikipedia, and we were brought his story by Jacob. And originally we were thinking of doing the film as a scripted project because it has so many twists and turns and comes straight out of a fiction film. But when we realized there was hours and hours of archive material of Richard actually shooting himself on camera in order to sell the vests, and he made all of these cult films to market them, we thought, well, this is, this has to be a documentary. I mean, it's a case of reality, but it being stranger than fiction. So that led us on this journey, and here we are 2 years later in a virtual Sundance.
And Daniel, what about you? What intrigued you about this story and made you want to work on this film?
Multiple things. I mean, I think to start off, the fact that he actually just shot himself. The fact that the man has shot himself close to 200 times is already there, quite intriguing. And then on top of that, for us in a conversation we had a lot, Johnny and I, but also with Ramin, our director, was what does this mean? What does this represent? I mean, in a country where obviously there's a lot of gun violence, we just wanted to look at at least one strain of it and the genesis of it. So for us, this felt like a good opportunity to look at it, to assess it, to dissect it through an incredible story.
Yeah, the film starts with explaining how there's many contradictions within his life. It's very surprising and so many twists and turns within this film. How important was it to have his involvement in it? I'm curious, Johnny, without him, it would have been a whole different story, but at times I'm surprised that he agreed to participate because that doesn't always shine the best light on him and his work.
It's a tremendous question. I think there would be no film, it's safe to say, without Richard. We probably would have done that fiction version if Richard wasn't available to do the documentary. But I think, Richard is aware of these contradictions. He's aware that life isn't just roses, and there's a lot of. He was willing to sit down, and we sat down with him for quite a few days, actually, several trips to northern Michigan, and countless hours of him sort of bearing it all. And I think for him, it was also a chance to look back and kind of reflect on his own life as well. So yeah, kudos to Richard for coming on board to the project. And we actually flew out and screened the film to him about a week ago, which was very exciting. So yeah.
And Daniel, if you were in Richard's shoes, would you want this story out there? And why would you want this told?
I mean, it's obviously, it's hard to say. I'm not of the same age as Richard. Richard is in his mid 80s, and I think he's had time to look back on his life and to share that and to talk to his family about his life. So, part of this experience, I think for him was laying it out and a bit of a legacy piece, which in part it is. And then it's also a vote of confidence on our director, who was able to convince Richard as well to feel comfortable with him and to share that story. And that's in part also because, simply put, the characters in the story also liked our director.
He did seem very comfortable in sharing, and again, this story, so many twists and turns. I very much enjoyed watching this. Johnny, how did he respond to seeing this film?
I think it was an emotional roller coaster, really, because I think for the first time it was, first of all, there was archive that we dug out that people gave us, including members of Richard's family, that he hadn't seen in a long time. So there's a scene, for example, where Richard, which didn't make it into any of his promotional films that he released and directed, there was a bit of personal archive, which was Richard standing in front of a gravestone, talking about how he made these vests in order to save one life, and that's how it began. And it's a moment of kind of reflection, and being in the room, watching Richard watch himself stand in front of a tombstone, talking about death in such a way, and a man who's escaped it, and death has been such a part of his life in many ways, his business and his life, and seeing him watch himself, I think, from the past was an absolute, as I mentioned, roller coaster for him. And so I think it was seeing his face after watching the film was like watching someone walk off a roller coaster ride, stumble out, and you are you've enjoyed it, but yet at the same time, I think you have a little bit in your stomach, having just come off and on solid ground. So it was a pretty emotional experience for him.
And Daniel, almost out of time, but I'm curious, how long did it take to complete this film? When did you start working on it?
Well, we started developing the project probably over 2 years ago, and then we basically went into pre-production during the first wave of the pandemic. So through the pandemic, we were shooting, filming, and editing. So it's been unfortunately it's been 2 years, close to 2 years.
And Johnny, last question, actually. What do you hope that audiences will glean from this film? What did you gain from being a part of this experience?
Sure. Well, in a way, we want to leave the audience with a carte blanche. We don't want to kind of input anything on them in terms of how they react. And so far, none of the public have seen it yet. So we're really excited just to see people's initial reactions. So we don't, in a way, this is Ramin's film. It's his essay, it's his poem, it's his kind of reflection on Richard's life and what he sees in America through the lens of a character like Richard. So we want people to sit back, enjoy it certainly, but also we're curious to see what people think. So we don't want to leave any impressions prior to people seeing it.
Well, I'm excited for people to see this as well. Just an incredible film. Thank you so much, Daniel and Johnny, executive producers on this film, for joining us today. I think that Johnny explained it very well. It's definitely a roller coaster ride. You'll be surprised, you'll learn things, you'll be shocked. This is all about the individual who was giving people second chances through his inventions of the bulletproof vest. So very intriguing story, highly recommend. You can head to the Sundance Film Festival and find screening times for that one. We'll be back right here on In the Can after this.
Welcome back to this Friday morning edition of In the Can. I am so excited to be talking to a musical artist. I am so passionate about music, and this is one of my favorite activities here at the Sundance Film Festival this year. I have a music artist, Haley Sales, joining us today. Very excited to have you. Haley, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I'm thrilled to have you here. I noticed a lot of things about your background, and so one of the most interesting things that I've noticed is you are actually a singer-songwriter and an actress. So how does it feel being able to perform during the Sundance Festival as a musical artist?
I'm so excited. Honestly, I feel very lucky and grateful to have the opportunity because it's kind of a combination of both of the worlds that I love so much.
So exciting here. I'm thrilled to be talking to you about that.
Oh,
so tell me a little bit, describe your sound for us. How would you say you pull from your musical influences?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I heard Judy Garland I don't even remember how it happened, but I heard her and I fell madly in love with that entire era, like the old Hollywood musical cinema style of music. And I'd say that my style is very much embodying that kind of raw, romantic, it's like an ode to romance with a bit of that old flair and a bit of the modern. Yeah, so I've always loved music that I feel could be a film, like it's a story. So that's a bit of what you'll see when you watch me, I hope.
I've definitely added several of your songs to my Spotify playlist.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Very
Thank
excited
you.
to listen to your music. Now, do you have any recent projects? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I actually just got off a tour with the incredible Rufus Wainwright, and we're going back to Europe, hopefully, in March and April. Finished the first record I will have been able to legally release in close to 7 years that we're going to start releasing this coming spring, and I'm so excited. And yeah, actually, I was lucky enough to act alongside Bruce Willis and Michael Rooker in a really fun movie that's coming out this spring called Corrective Measures.
So how do you juggle both as a singer-songwriter as well as an actress?
You know, it's so far, it's been a very amicable relationship between the two. I'm sure at some point it'll be a little harder, but you know, the music kind of can mold around, and films and TV. So far it's been really lovely. It's a good balance. I find with acting, you're stepping into someone else's shoes and you get to explore the world through their story. And then with music, it's basically you trying to chisel away at your own story so the whole world can see it. So I love how they work together personally in my life.
I think growing up for me, I've always dreamed of, you know, music being the soundtrack. And as I go through life, I do the same thing. And so speaking of growing up, you were born in Washington, D.C. I was also raised there. And then you moved to Canada. So tell me a little bit about how your upbringing has influenced your artistry.
In every way, really. I was born into a wonderful artistic household of hippies in DC, and my dad had a recording studio in our basement, and it's essentially, you know, they've been a bit of a nomadic family, but it's the recording studio is the one constant. My piano is the one constant, and I wouldn't be here without my family. I knew really early that I was one of those kids that all I wanted to do was be on the stage, and they really nurtured that for me, and I'm so
wonderful. Now, I am so excited for your performance. Can you explain to the viewers what ASCAP is and how you became involved?
Well, ASCAP is this incredible organization that helps songwriters maintain the rights to their art, collect the royalties. Without it, we'd all be sunk, really. And I was reached out to take part in this, and actually pretty recently.
Haley, I think we have a bit of a pause here, but we are so excited for Haley's performance. She will be performing tomorrow, so go head over to the ASCAP Music Cafe website to check out her viewings, and we're thrilled to have her here on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Haley, would you mind telling viewers where they can find you on social media as well as your website?
Yeah, of course. Basically, Haley Sales. Most of those people are me. So Haley Sales on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and all the usual suspects.
In addition to touring, what do you have planned over the next year and the next couple of years?
You know, we're going to start releasing the record, and hopefully that opens the door to many, many other opportunities. And in addition to touring, probably keep writing music. I seem to be addicted to recording things at the moment. So yeah, just, you know, it's been a crazy couple of years for all of us. I mean, I'm sure we're all in the same boat there. So really just hopeful that the world starts to open up in the right way and art is able to really flourish again.
Haley, wonderful. I know I'm excited to watch your performance. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will be right back after this.
Welcome back. Right now, we are going to focus on a big documentary coming out of the festival called TikTok Boom. Director Charlene Kentaga is joining us today. Charlene, thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
Thanks so much for having me.
So I want to focus first on your 2020 film, Coded Bias, that premiered also at the Sundance Film Festival. Seems to be a bit of a direct line from that film to this one, but tell me a little bit more about that evolution and what made you want to focus the film on TikTok.
Well, I think that I am someone who is perpetually fascinated by technology, and I'm sort of a sci-fi fanatic, and so I have become somewhat obsessed with how algorithms work and their impact on our culture. And I think that sort of led me to this next evolution of thought, which is the social cultural phenomenon that is TikTok.
What is it about this world when you think about Coded Bias and some other projects that you've done and TikTok Boom that is so intriguing to you?
Well, I have to say that I use TikTok myself, and I am amazed at sort of the accuracy of this algorithm to sort of know our individual psychology in a particular way. And so I'm both amazed by the power of this social media, and in TikTok Boom, I am sort of enamored with the cast of the film, this Gen Z group of influencers on the platform and the ways that they're using this technology in new ways.
You know, quite a bit of the film does focus on that algorithm that you mentioned on TikTok with the For You page, where it follows everything that you've done, tracks all of your activity on the app, and really creates this very personalized experience, which is unique within this platform. But there's some pros and cons there, and that was a fascinating dive into the good and the bad that can come from that. What made you decide to focus so much on that piece of it?
Well, I think that often we look at social media as sort of like this big magic. We think of algorithms as sort of this big magic. And I think in my documentaries, I've sought to sort of pull back the curtain and give us all a little bit of a seat at the table to see how these algorithms are shaping our lives.
And one way that it is shaping our lives, mentioned in the film, is that unfortunately it may give the users just what they want to see, which isn't always what you really need. It may prevent getting that diversity of thought that is very essential and maybe quite isolate you in a certain dogma. Tell me more about that.
Well, quite like YouTube, it sort of relies on this recommendation algorithm system. And I often refer to recommendation algorithms as sort of this silent hand of power. And I think that we haven't yet grappled with the fact that we are now kind of, a generation is growing up with these kinds of persuasive technologies that say, maybe you should watch this next, maybe you should listen to this next. this might be the next thing for you. And so I worry a little bit, just because of the crude logic of how these algorithms work, about things that happen on other recommendation algorithm platforms like YouTube, which is that we get dialed really into more of what it thinks that we want, and what will keep us on the platform. And so that is the trick of these persuasive platforms.
Now, the film explores the origin story of TikTok, which is fascinating. Also, we meet these really fun influencers. They dig into the pros and cons of what they do as influencers, the pressure they feel, and much more. It goes into privacy issues, also concerns with minors. And then you have a fascinating introspective part about censorship. Tell me more about that, and were you worried about including that in this film?
Yes, I mean, I think that I try to frame it in the film around content moderation, which is sort of common not just to TikTok, but to Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and every place that has now become our public square of conversation. And so what I try to do is sort of also pull back the curtain on what happens around content moderation and some of the dangers of now such an important part of our free expression being in the hands of a few companies whose sometimes policies can be unknown or unquestionable to us. And so I think it was important to include that.
You know, it focuses on a young girl, this part, the censorship part within the film, who has the decision, she makes the decision to discuss world politics, and then her videos get taken down for a very specific reason, which is alarming. But also, did you have any concerns about including that particular story specifically, especially with wanting global distribution for the film?
Well, I think that it was a story that I was most, first of all, to tell a story that has this level of sort of geopolitical conflict around it, which is what the TikTok story isn't steeped in by itself, is tricky. And I think with the film, what I try to do is provide nuance. And I think the film is not just like dystopic, it's utopic too, quite like the technology. I feel like these technologies, I think that's the irony or the sort of double edge of them, is that they're both the utopia and the dystopia. And so I feel like the film tries to show some of that nuance.
It absolutely does. I very much enjoyed it and came away with a bit of a neutral opinion about social media that really makes the viewers think. Highly recommend this great film. If you want to deep dive into TikTok and everything that it's about, you don't want to miss out. It's called TikTok Boom. And thank you so much to Charlene Kentaga, director of this film, for joining us today. I hope that you will find it, watch it, and looking forward to a great discussion about it afterwards. We'll be back with more right here on In the Can after this. Just say it fast.
Welcome back, Park City. We are so excited to be here. Now, this is my favorite portion of the show today. I get to chat with writer and director Andrew Siemens on his brand new world debut project, Resurrection. Andrew, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
Hi, thrilled to have you here. So very excited to learn a little bit more about this project from your perspective. You know, I think everybody can relate initially to the storyline. So tell us a bit about the film, as it is your Sundance world debut.
Yeah, well, the movie is, I guess you'd call it a psychological thriller. And it's a story of a woman named Margaret, who is played by Rebecca Hall. And Margaret is a successful professional woman and a single mother caring for a teenage daughter who's about to go away to college. And one day, a mysterious man from Margaret's past, played by Tim Roth, starts appearing seemingly at random in her environment. and she comes to believe that he's come back to bring fear and coercion and violence into into their lives, her and her daughters. And it's about what she does next.
It sounds very intense there. So talk to me about the film. You both wrote and directed it. What was your inspiration, and where did the story stem from?
The story came from, I usually, when I'm looking for an idea for a story or a character, I often ask myself what scares me. I go to my own fears. And in this case, I was thinking a lot about fears around parenting and fears around not being able to keep your child safe from injury, harm, victimization, and the fear of failing as a parent. And this is something that I think is very elemental. And so by engaging with those ideas, I started thinking about the parental vigilante subgenre, which is very enduring and popular. And I thought, well, this would be an interesting space to work in to explore these themes. And it just sort of went from there.
Wonderful. So let's talk about the creation of the film. You know, where did you start? How did you pull the team together? Talk about the casting.
Well, the casting started with Rebecca. Rebecca is an actor I've admired for a long time. She's just absolutely brilliant, and I've been such a huge fan. And I knew she would be perfect. There's no actor in the world that is better suited to this role. And to our everlasting delight, we were able to get the script to her through her agent, and she read it and she responded to it immediately. And was on board, and it was immensely gratifying. I met up with her, and she got it completely, and we just took it from there. And once Rebecca was involved, we were able to build the movie around her, and that's how it came together.
So let's talk about your partnership with Rebecca. What do you feel you got the most out of working with her directly?
Rebecca was an absolute dream to work with because she's so incredibly prepared. She knew the script so well. She knew the characters so well that I had to do very little. She required no direction. She was just from the first take of the first scene to the last, she knew exactly what to do. So it became apparent to me that really the less I directed her, the better, because she was completely on top of it. She was so locked in. It was just amazing. So it was just this great gift to me that she just had it locked and loaded. And so it was, as far as collaborations go, it was both hugely gratifying because she's absolutely extraordinary in the movie, and incredibly easy because she brought it all to the table, and I could just sort of watch her and admire her as she worked.
Now, during the creation of this project, do you have a specific moment that really jumps out and stands out to you that you feel really helped propel the project forward?
Oh my goodness, that's a difficult question. I mean, really, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I feel like when Rebecca came on board, it was something of a dream come true, and that felt like what took this thing that we had been working on for a long time, trying to get it going, made it feel real, made it feel doable, and made it feel creatively achievable. I knew that for this movie to work, we needed a truly, truly special actor in the lead role. And when we got someone that I knew that I could be entirely confident in, then suddenly the movie felt like, oh, this is going to be a real movie, and this could be a good movie. And so that was a huge turning point.
It is so exciting. Now, Andrew, I am curious, what inspired you and drew you to this career of filmmaking? Tell me a little bit about your background.
I grew up in a family where everybody loved movies and watched movies all the time. I'm from Minneapolis in Minnesota, and my parents were both actors and worked in the theater and just loved movies, and they would kind of let us watch anything. And so it was just a constant in my house growing up. And so getting into movies just felt kind of like an organic extension to that. And it's something I always wanted to do. And it just felt kind of inevitable. I moved to New York at a young age, and I went to film school, and I've been working in the industry to one degree or another ever since. And I don't know. I don't recall. There wasn't a eureka moment where I thought I'm going into movies. It just was kind of always there.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, I guess final question: how do you hope viewers receive this film, and tell us when and where they can watch it?
Okay. Well, I'll start with the second part of the question. It premieres tomorrow night, Saturday, January 22nd. And it is premiering at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And tickets are still available. You can watch it online and through whatever streaming device you have through the Sundance website. So, of course, we encourage everybody to go out and get tickets. And the first part of the question, I think, was what do we want people to take away from it? And I would say I hope they see it as a fresh and unusual take on a familiar genre, and something that is both dramatic and engaging, but also intellectually stimulating. And I think one thing I can guarantee absolutely is you're going to see a performance that is as good as any you'll see this year. Go ahead.
Andrew, you have been wonderful to chat with today, and I'm so excited for you in this debut Sundance Film Festival for you. Thanks so much, and enjoy it. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Right now, it's an absolute honor to have director Ed Perkins joining us virtually today. He directed the film The Princess, which premiered last night right here at the Sundance Film Festival. Ed, thanks for being here today. How are you feeling this morning?
Tired, but good. Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you, and thanks for having me on. We had a very late screening last night, so it's a strange feeling when you've been working on a film for the better part of 2 years and it kind of goes out into the world and you start to hear people's reactions. But it's also a very exciting one, so couldn't be more privileged to be part of the Sundance Film Festival.
Well, you should feel very proud. It's an incredible film. What are you hearing? Have you been able to really get people's opinions or get much feedback right now?
Some reviews are coming in, and they seem broadly very positive, which is always lovely. We also had a Q&A very late last night, so we were able to start getting some feedback there, and people are starting to engage with the film and the ideas that the film brings up on Twitter and social media. So that's all very exciting. It's an interesting one because with this film in particular, but really with all the films we make, we are trying to make them to start a conversation and to kind of act as a catalyst. And so obviously it's sad not to kind of be in a room with other people and to be able to start a conversation about an issue, a person, but also themes that I think people will have very strong opinions on one way or the other. But being able to do it over Zoom in the brave new world that we all live in is a great way to do that, and we really look forward to hearing people's thoughts going forward in the coming days and weeks.
And I do too as well. I was able to watch it last night and really looking forward to conversations about this. This is a story about the life of Princess Diana. It's a story that we're all very familiar with, yet this film surprised me. What surprised you? What did you learn while working on this?
About Diana? A huge amount. I mean, I probably spent, the first 6 or 7 months of the edit was me just spending 10 hours a day watching archive that our brilliant archive team had scoured the planet to find. If there's something I learned specifically about Diana that I perhaps wasn't expecting, it's that, and I said this last night, but it's that she's both more ordinary and more extraordinary than I perhaps given her credit for before. And by that, I mean that when you start to spend a lot of time watching her and how she engages, you do realize that she's just a flawed, fallible human being like all of us. And she lived her life very much in the public eye from a very early age. And she kind of made her mistakes in public. And the fact that she isn't perfect and did make mistakes and was vulnerable and willing to be vulnerable, I think is one of the things that people sort of fell in love with. And it's one of the things that people found so disarming about her. The other thing I would say that I think people who are sort of more cynical towards her or skeptical about the impact she had on the world, the thing I discovered through watching the footage over and over again is that she does actually have I think a really extraordinary and unique ability. When she walks into a room, when she walks into a hospice or a hospital or a classroom, she has an amazing ability to put people at ease very quickly. And it could be kind of defined as a soft skill, but it's a real world skill. And I was kind of taken aback by the way in which she did have a properly positive impact on individuals that she'd met. And she had that kind of very unique ability. We probably all know people like this in our own lives, of kind of making you feel very present and that you're the most important person in her world at that time. I never met Diana, but I can see from watching lots and lots of footage that she's clearly had that impact. And I don't think it's just that she was a princess and she was famous. There's something about her character that I think I learned, and it is a kind of an extraordinary skill. And I think it's why she had, where she was able to lean into causes that she believed in, whether it was AIDS or whether it was landmines in Angola or Bosnia. She did have a very positive impact in those areas, in part because of this very specific and unique skill set.
Her warmth absolutely comes through the camera. You can feel that, and it's somewhat surprising because you utilize basically television news footage to tell this entire story. Tell me about the decision to just use that, and how long did it take you to go through all of the footage, and how did you decide what to use and what not to use?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, Simon Chin, the producer, and I, we've been kind of wanting to make this story for many, many years, and we wanted to make this film in this way for many years. Partly because it always kind of felt to me like it was one of the sort of defining stories of our era, and it does have undertones of a sort of Shakespearean saga, tragedy, love, revenge. It sort of has it all, and yet it is kind of a story that a lot of us lived through and I think actively participated in at various points. There have inevitably been lots and lots of documentaries made about Diana today. In fact, I would probably say across the various storytelling genres, this story has been told probably more widely than almost any other. And so when we started this project, we were very aware of the challenge. It was only worth taking this on if we really felt like we had something new to say or to offer up to the conversation, or a different vantage point and perspective from which to tell the story. And I guess, there's been lots of films and documentaries and to date, a lot of them I felt were quite interior. And by that, I mean that they were quite focused on trying to kind of get inside Diana's head, trying to work out how she felt and explore her psychology or explore the breakdown of her marriage. And that's really interesting, but it does inevitably also involve a certain degree of speculation. And I felt that what was perhaps more interesting for me still, and is largely kind of still unanswered, is like, what does the Diana story say about all of us? And that was the thing. I wanted to try to find a way that made a film that was actually, yes, it's ostensibly about Diana, but the bigger issues are about all of us and what it says about us. And so it was trying to work out, like, what's the form of the film? How can we make this film that allows us to do that? And we kind of hit on this idea that instead of the traditional way of making this film, which would be, using archive and then shooting retrospective interviews with people who knew Diana or experts, we would eschew all that and instead allow the story to kind of unfold in the present tense. So it's a fully immersive, experiential documentary that's made exclusively out of contemporaneous archive from the time. And our hope is that the archive-only approach allows us to kind of turn that camera back onto all of us throughout the film and ask bigger and I think interesting questions about our role in this story, our relationship to monarchy, our relationship to celebrity, and perhaps our complicity in this tragic tale.
It is very unique in how it does just that. It turns the camera back on the public, on the press, on everyone's reactions to her, to the events in her life, and how that impacted the trajectory of her experience and ours with the monarchy. You're an award-winning director. You've worked on many projects, very well known. What made you decide to focus specifically on this topic?
Well, as I said, it's always been of interest to me. I guess like a lot of people, I felt I had a strangely kind of personal connection to this story. I remember, it's one of those moments, a bit like 9/11 or JFK, I remember, like millions of people around the world do, where I was when I heard that Diana had died. It's kind of seared into so many of our collective consciousnesses. And I was 11 years old at the time, and I remember very vividly, like, being in my bedroom, being woken up by my parents. We were very emotional. And then I had this abiding memory of kind of like putting the TV on and just over the coming hours and days, just watching tens of thousands of people take to the streets of London, you know, grown men and women crying, you know, and there was this sort of extraordinary national wave of grief that took over the country and kind of rippled around the world. And, you know, if I'm totally honest, as an 11-year-old, I just didn't understand it. My emotion at the time was not sadness, and it was kind of confusion. You know, I couldn't work out why all these people were mourning Diana in the way that they would if they'd lost one of their own family members, their own mother or daughter or sister. And I was trying to kind of, even back then, sort of think, what is it about this woman that it creates this extraordinary relationship with the public? You know, why do people seem to care so much? And that's kind of the starting point for the film for me is, can we make a film that by the time we get towards the end of the film and you know, we do explore the days after her death, that we perhaps have a deeper or more complex understanding of quite why we all reacted in the way that we did. And our hope again is that the archive-only approach perhaps allows us to explore that with a degree of kind of emotional clarity that more traditional approaches might not offer up.
Say that the film achieved all of those things. Ed Perkins, thank you so much for joining us today. Absolute pleasure speaking with you about this incredible film, The Princess. It premiered last night at the film festival, but there's still more screenings that you can head to the website. You can buy tickets for online for the Sundance Film Festival. Once again, it's The Princess. Really incredible film. It's going to definitely spur many conversations about this very well-known life of an incredible individual. We'll be back right here on In the Can after this.
And we are back with our special Friday edition of In the Can. Thrilled to be here today, and I am so excited because I have the cast of a wonderful film that actually won the 2021 Venice Film Fest, the Lion Award. So I'm so excited. I've got Anna Maria Bartolome and Audrey Diwan with us today. Thanks so much for coming, ladies.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Wonderful to have you here. Now, Anna Maria, tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind your character.
Well, we started with Audrey, the director, during the lockdown to share references of books and movies, especially that will help us to build our characters. So it started here. We had as a main inspiration Rosetta, which is a movie directed by the Dallin brothers. And we kept in mind that she's like a little soldier, so we inspired a lot from the determination and courage of Amy in the movie.
Wonderful. Now, Audrey, tell me a bit about the film and why did you choose to do this project?
I've read a lot of Annie Ernaux's book, but I've discovered this one after getting an abortion myself. And reading the book, I realized how little I knew about illegal abortion. I thought that I knew a lot about it, and it was wrong. I felt some kind of rage, and I wanted to show the journey of this young girl who actually is looking for freedom. It's not only about illegal abortion, but what I've read and what I see through her story is a girl trying to be free to study, free to have sexual desire, and I was touched and moved by this determination to freedom.
Okay, great. Now, Anna Maria, talk to me about you and how you personally relate to your character, Anne, and let's talk through that.
Well, I think I was very inspired by her courage, her audacity, as Audrey said, she has intellectual desire, she has physical desire. I think she just, sorry, my Mac just did a very big noise, but yeah, she has aspirations, and I think she's very affirmed and a very confident woman, at least she tries to, and I think I just, inspired myself from that, and she helped me to became more confident also after the movie, and I think that I tried to keep something from her at the end of shooting the movie.
Wonderful. Now, Audrey, talk to me about the casting for this film and what were you looking for in each of the characters?
Okay, my character is studying literature, and I had in mind that I was looking for my intellectual partner, a girl who would understand exactly what the words mean, who has a strong relationship to literature herself. So when I met Anna Maria, she was both a very technical actress. I was amazed to see someone who understands so much what the filmmaker wants and needs. In the meantime, she's very free to experiencing. I mean, it was quite difficult. There are many sequences that are very difficult to do because you have to experience pain, or at least to make it seem that you've experienced pain and desire, and you have to be free as a very young actress, and it's not easy. Not so many young actresses are ready to go that far with the filmmaker, and she would always understand what we were looking for. So it was actually kind of easy to find the right actress.
Now, Anna Maria, talk to us about your preparation for this film. What did you do before you started filming in order to really embody the character of Anne?
Well, as I said before, it all started with sharing references during lockdown with Audrey. And then we had 2 weeks of preparation before shooting. So we met with all the crew, I mean the girls, to create this group, to create how you exist in the group and how to also embody the 60s. And we also focused on how to give life to Anne through her postures, through her look, I'm sorry. And so we worked on that. And then, you know, for example, the body paint scenes, we let that on shooting, and we said, okay, we will find them on set. And that was a sort of pressure because, you know, we didn't really anticipated them. So I kind of was scared of not be able to embody them and to, you know, play them as Audrey wanted. But in fact, it was very easy because she was my partner, my ally, and we really, you know, trusted each other. And I was at my very ease on set because I think I had in front of me the most exigent and the most kind and, you know, right person to do that.
Wonderful. Now, Audrey, tell us where and how we can view the film. We are very excited for you.
Where you can see the film?
Yes.
So you'll be able to see it on Monday in Sundance, and I'm actually very pleased because, you know, it means a lot to me that we can share it with United States, that we can talk about the topic there. I was so sad that we couldn't be there with you, but still, I mean, even if it is a virtual session of this festival in Sundance, I'm so happy to be virtually there and to be able to share it with you.
Well, we are very excited for the world to see your film. Thank you so much, Audrey and Anna Maria. You can check out Happening on the Sundance website.